Welcome to the OTA podcast, where we discuss everything performance training. I'm Coach Chris Barnard. Let's get into it. All right, guys, welcome back to the OTA podcast. For today's episode, want to answer some questions. So real quick, if you have a training or coaching related question, if you're a coach, running business, something like that, anything within your gym, or if you're an athlete that wants a training related question, go ahead and drop that down in the comments and I'll go ahead and try to answer it for you. So today's question comes from our man Lozano Liana. Question is, what can I help with prevention of injury, in quotations, knees, when an athlete is jumping constantly? So there's a couple ways that we could take this. Obviously, I'm not looking at the balance of your program and don't really know exactly what it is, so I'm kind of shooting in the dark. But to answer it, number one, the balance of your program and creating knee stability, it needs to be there. So anytime that you're, doing an upper body compound, I use that opportunity for us to use movements that are going to stabilize across the knees. Things like decel step ups, iso step downs. We use a lot of isometrics across the knee at different joint angles to really support the health, the tendons, the ligaments of the overall knee. So those are a must from the balance of the program. As far as movements go, I actually really like knees over toes stuff. I like a lot of reverse sled. It's something that we've always done. They've made that very prominent. Some of the split squats and deeper ranges, things like that, and strengthening across the entire range of motion, I think are all really good. And then on top of that, from a strength side, I think isometrics across the knee are an absolute must. The other thing is getting the hamstrings really strong through things such as, Swiss ball hamstring curls, Nordic hamstring curls, band hamstring curls. You can even do and utilize some types of machines to be able to support that. The other thing that I would offer is what I've taken over the past couple years is I've really pulled back the amount of volume on horizontal jumping versus vertical jumping. And let me explain this. So when you develop vertical force, a byproduct of that is that athlete's horizontal force is naturally going to go up. So with that being said, when you look at horizontal jumping, especially done at a high level, when you start to get these very powerful athletes or athletes that don't display enough strength on more of the U side, if you think about it like this, if you think about this being the shin and this being the femur or the thigh, every time that athlete produces horizontal force, there is shear force when they have to decelerate or when they're landing for that, basically where that upper thigh is kind of going this way where they have to decelerate. And that in and of itself, right? A lot like a lot of basketball, a lot of approach jumping where the athlete has to redirect force where they're going horizontally and then has to redirect vertically. What happens is they have to decelerate. So there's just a lot of pressure, right? That tends to create a lot of inflammation across the knee. What's up, coaches? Real quickly, let me go ahead and introduce you to Performance Coach U certification. Now, this is the certification/course that I put together for coaches who want to train athletes and not only get results, but also maximize profits in the private sector. The problem that I saw with a lot of these courses and certifications out there for coaches was that they provided a lot of information and not a lot of application. So I wanted to pull back the covers over 10 plus years of experience and show you the ins and outs of actually being in the trenches so that you get maximum results while also scaling your business. So if you're interested in this, go ahead and check out the link down below and you can get more information. And so what I've done is I've really pulled back and I'm a little bit more precise with how we develop vertical or horizontal force. So I wouldn't want to say from like a 1-to-2 ratio that I do horizontal versus vertical. And as far as volume goes, I've noticed that a lot of that knee pain has started to be taken away, especially when you start getting into single leg, double broad jumps, single leg, triple broad jumps. At first, I started with landing 2 as opposed to landing 1 leg. And then once I started noticing that some athletes were still developing that, I really scaled back that volume in general. And I usually tend to stack them later in my off season. So once we've really developed and had some time to be able to develop stability and strength across that knee through our resistance training, I then start to slowly introduce it at a more advanced level as far as the horizontal type jumps. I might introduce them early on in a program, but I might do them low level. Nothing really crazy, basically like a single leg broad jump or a broad jump. Something a little bit more easy on the body, if you will. But I would approach it in those two ways. So number one, throughout the balance of your program, you want to make sure every single phase, every single week, you're hammering and you're having some kind of progression to the knee. As I always say, we go iso step down, decel step downs, reverse sled drag. That's kind of the order we go through in off season as far as building stability on the resistance side. And then on the other side, make sure that you're going a 1-to-2 ratio on your horizontal versus vertical jumping, and that you essentially introduce those more advanced, more stressful, higher stimulus movements later on in the off season where the athlete has built the foundation across the knee. I hope that helps. As I said, if you have any other training questions down below, check it out. If you're a coach looking for more programming, check out the links down below. I got plenty of stuff, free resources for you guys to follow. I'll holler at you guys next time.